I interviewed the CEO of Tradify, and guys, this video is packed full of information. You get to hear from Brett himself, talk about the industry, talk about where he came from, and overall what he's doing with Tradify to help benefit the traders. If you want to get an account with Tradify, there's a link down in the description. You can click that, go buy an account from them. Also, if you stick around to the end of this video, we might be giving you a little something. So be sure to stick around to the end to see what that is, guys. And without further ado, let's get into the video. What's up, guys? I'm super excited for this video. We have an awesome guest here, Brett Simba, the owner of Tradify. Straight to funding, has evaluation accounts as well. And he's here to talk to us and give us a little, he's going to pull back the curtains a little bit on who he is, Tradify, and the direction that he's taking things. And I'm super excited. Brett, what's up, man? How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Excited
Yes, sir.
to finally connect on this. I know we've been planning it a little while.
Yeah, it's been a minute, but hey, we're here and we're good to go. I gotta say, man, a lot of people in my Discord community have been talking about Tradify, asking a lot of questions, and I know they're gonna be super excited when this video comes out. And I think it's important for people to know, who it is that they're getting involved with. What, who's the CEO of the prop firm? Because you see a lot of people hide behind closed doors. They maybe open a business, but then like they hide, right, a little bit. They're not actually in the public eye. And so with you being the public eye, I think it's super awesome that people can see you and get to know you as well. So tell us a little bit who you are, man. Like, where did you come from? Like, how did we get to this point?
Yeah, so start from I guess I grew up in Jersey. I moved down to Florida 2015, I think. And to finish out school, I went to FAU with two of my best friends. We transferred from another college. While I was going to school at FAU, I was working as an insurance salesman as well, making really good money. So I decided to kind of slow down school. Instead of taking 4 or 5 classes, I was only taking like 2 or 3 per semester, just because I didn't see myself using my degree to make as much as I was at insurance at the time. It's kind of like trading, actually, insurance, because you can build a book, and if you have clients that you can kind of do the compound interest type of thing, right? You grow your account, You're making 2% a day, it compounds, or 1% or 10% a month, whatever, right? Insurance, the same thing. For a year, when you have clients, next year, hopefully, X% of them renew. That's what your, starting balance is technically, right? And then you just keep on, kind of compounding from there with referrals, etc. So I've always been and the reason I bring that up is I've always been in the mindset of, building something for the longevity, or something that compounds, so to say. I never really dabbled in trading. My dad, he gave me some shares of Dell back in the day, back when Dell was,
Good old Dell.
Yeah, public. I don't think public anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had some of those, and nothing crazy at all, a couple $1,000s worth. Eventually I think I just sold it and used it to buy a car or something like that, my first car or something. But when I got into trading was all the crypto hype going on, 2016, 2017. Everything was just going up. It was I had to see what this was about, because I had extra income at the time. I was in college, making more than the average college kid, because I was working more than I was going to class full time, pretty much working 50 to 60 hours a week in a phone room. I had the script and my job kind of memorized, in terms of how to explain the plans, how to go over the pitch, etc., with different customers and clients.
Sure.
So my boss kind of let me do whatever I wanted a little bit on the side. So we had 2 monitors there, similar to how I trade now, 2 monitors. And I'd have, my work up for the job on one, and crypto and any info I could find on the other. I remember there was this website, I think it's still around, it's called Crypto Panic. And it was just a news site, and it would constantly have all the new news coming in. And every day I would go on there, I would see what's going on, learn about some different altcoins, learn about what's going on, XYZ, right? And I started to get really in depth and really involved in it. And I wanted to kind of learn a little bit more of, how you can just, buy, and because I saw the big moves going up and down. It was obviously going up straight up, for weeks or months at a time at first, but there were huge swings. You'd be down 10% in a day, 15%. By the end of the day, you're up 20%.
Yep.
I'm like, this is great to just hold, but if I'm able to learn how to trade it, it'll be even better, right? So I saw one of those guys. Not myself. My friend put me on to a guy who was running one of the first like Discords. It was a Slack at the time, and we paid a membership fee to get in. Him and I, and he basically taught us like kind of how to read a chart. But at the end of the day, turned out to kind of be a scammer. He was literally
Oh
just,
no.
yeah, he was literally just posting a chart and everything was going up. So like you couldn't be wrong. And we didn't really know until the basically the first collapse of crypto, end of 2016 or beginning of 2017, whenever it was. And we realized, this guy doesn't actually know how to trade. Like he was just drawing charts. It was like throwing darts at a dartboard. Like you could just easily pick any ticker in crypto and
And
make
you
money
couldn't be
all the
wrong at the
time.
time.
Exactly. You just
Yeah.
couldn't be wrong, right? So like if you were new, you'd think somebody doing it longer than you is like a god. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because like you just don't have the experience. You don't know. You might be happy they're calling out all these plays, but like until even though everything's hitting, right? You don't feel like you have that full knowledge that they do. So
Yep.
you still think like you should follow them. And I think that happens even now,
It
with
does
a lot of
all the time.
people in these groups, right? So until you get that base knowledge yourself and really understand what's going on, you actually can't even see if the person you're following like is true or real, right? And that's kind of like an issue that there is these days too, and why I see yourself and some other different influencers, saying you guys have to like teach yourself, like you have to learn yourself, right?
Yep.
You can pay to get these courses and everything, but at the end of the day, if you don't put the work in, you're not going to understand what's going on. So anyway, so I was in there, ended up doing like options a little bit because when crypto was dying down, I don't know how I got into options. I always try to remember and I really can't. I think somebody was posting about it in that crypto Discord. And I don't know, I decided to try them out because crypto was going down. I wasn't making money, didn't really know how to short too well, was starting to lose money. Um, so I started playing around with options. Eventually got good at it. The guy gave me his own channel, my own channel in his Discord.
Nice.
Was posting a bunch of stuff. Started to build up a little bit of like nothing crazy, 100 people, 200 people follow me along in there. And I asked him, hey, can you give me a little, 1K, 2K a month? He was charging $1,000 a person at the time. So I was like, if I'm giving you, options to be able to sell to people, like, hey, can you give me like one person's payment, to
Mm-hmm.
you? Said, oh no, I can't do that. I built everything up myself. No, no, no. I was like, all right, well then, I'm gonna go make my own. And I made Simba stocks. That was like my first group. And a couple of the guys that I was in his group with, we were in a DM. We had a side DM, and we were kind of learning and realizing he was a scammer and didn't know what was going on at the same time. So we kind of, it's almost like now how you have a community, you might maybe not even a community, just a group chat, of friends, right? It became kind of that core group of 5, 6 people that we were just teaching each other, hey, I tried this strategy. Hey, I used these EMAs. I used an MA. Like, what's Fibonacci? What's Bollinger Band? Everything, right? Everyone was trying everything, and we were trying to figure out our own types of strategies. So those guys actually ended up making Simba stocks with me, and comes full circle now. 2 of those guys are my partners on Tradify.
Nice.
So I've known these guys since 2017/18. We came up with the idea around 2020. We were trading on Top Step. We liked the idea. That was right around COVID. It was right before COVID. We started working on this, and then
So
once
this has been in
COVID
the
happened,
works for a long time.
yeah, it's a longer time than people think.
Yeah.
That'll get into some other things we'll go over later, but basically we saw like how Top Step was doing, and we liked the model. We wanted to do it. I still call them the godfather of the space. Top Step.
Yep.
They grandfathered it. They've been
They
around
did.
so long. That was back when it was 2-step evals,
Yeah.
dude, insane. Because now it's just immediate gratification. But you'd have to take an eval, then you'd have to take another eval. I think the rules were the same,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to wait like a week to get a funded account. So like, and you had to trade 10 days in between each one, or 15 days. Like it was like a month
Yeah.
basically to get funded.
Yeah. It
And
was much
like you
harder
look
back
at it,
then.
so hard, yeah. And you look at it now, there's 1 day to pass, right? 2 day to pass, 3 day, whatever. you're getting it within a week, mostly, if you're
Yep.
obviously if you're, shooting for it quickly, right? Um, but even if you're taking your time, like you'd have to wait like 30 days to get an account, which is like wild when you think about it now.
100%.
But anyway, we like the model. We started working on it. We stopped working on it because Simba stock started to take off. That was COVID. Everybody started trading. So I was selling subscriptions. Everybody knows that I've done that,
Mm-hmm.
courses, all that. So focused on that business, and that started to take off. So I just didn't want to like split my time between two things.
Sure.
Really wish I did, because would probably be right up there with Top Step right now.
Yep.
Hoping to get there anyway, but
Yep.
can only imagine where we'd be if we were literally probably one of the top. We'd probably be one of the first 5 firms at that point for
Mm-hmm.
futures. I'm not sure who was in business then, right? So
Yeah. I want to back up just
um
a little bit before we get too much in the prop firms. I think you said something very important and
yeah,
early on in this conversation when you mentioned people giving signals and following signals and
yeah.
not really learning. I see a lot of people, and I even to this day, like I still have a lot of people DM me saying, "Hey man, do
Mhm.
you offer signals or do you provide like trade entries before they happen? Can we follow you? This and that." And at the end of the day, it's like when people look for that kind of thing, you don't learn, right?
Right.
You don't learn why you're entering, you don't learn why you're exiting, why you're losing money, why you're winning money. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you don't know why the trade is happening the way it is. What would you say to people that are looking for things like that, and how would you guide them around that?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm actually on both sides here. Like, I do know that there's some people who would only like to do that, right? Like, there's a, a lot of people want to put in the time and will want to learn, but like chemically, as a person, in my opinion, at least, there's some people who won't be able to trade. You're not going to be able to get rid of those habits unless you really decide to be like a robot, right?
Yep.
So I am on the side of definitely try. You need to try it out yourself. You need to be able to at least understand what's going on by putting yourself in the position of, even whoever you're following, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I do trading's not for everyone, right? It really isn't. That's why 98% of day traders fail, right? There
Yep.
is not going to be, a vast amount of people who are successful at it. It is one of the most rewarding things, but it's also one of the toughest things mentally, right? So
100%.
there are people who would like to kind of gauge and watch things being said, then just, I guess, learn it themselves. I would not, however, blindly follow any. You have to
Yep.
have at least a base understanding, which,
Yep.
kind of ties into what you're saying, where you should be able to, not just be, you know, I don't know, trying to think of a metaphor here, whatever, throwing it out the window, forget
Mm-hmm.
that. But,
Yep.
just drinking the water, or whatever, drinking the Kool-Aid. There we go. Right.
There you go.
Like,
Yep.
following the path of signals, right? You should try to at least learn something on your own. And if you can take it fully, eventually you won't need that person, right? How I
Right.
used to do it in Simba stocks is like we'd do signals, we'd show the thesis behind it, we'd go over why, right? But at the end of the day, we'd want you to have an understanding of going back and looking at previous plays and know, okay, this is why he took this. This is why he got stopped out here. This is why he took profit. And then don't even copy me in that sense, right? Use that information and create your own strategy that works
Sure.
for you, because this might work for me. Maybe I'm using a certain time frame that doesn't work for you, right? Or you don't like that. So, everybody's made up of different chemicals. It's literally human biology, right? So you have to find what works for you and in your mind.
And
So,
ultimately, it sets you
two
up for
sides of the coin.
longevity. It sets you up for longevity
Exactly.
when you learn how to actually execute and why you're in your trade. It sets you up for longevity in the account. Because what happens if if the person you're taking signals from they just quit and then just
Yeah.
bounce out and they're not in public eye anymore? So it's like now you're
Yeah.
screwed. But cool. So let's talk about the industry as a whole right now. Right, it's kind of
Sure.
become a crowded space. Right, you have a bunch of prop firms popping up. You have Top Step. You have obviously they started this whole industry. You have Top Step. You have Apex. You have Fast Track now. You have Tradify with your prop firm. How are you navigating? Like, where are you seeing the industry going with where we're currently at right now? Do you feel like we're headed in a positive direction in the prop firm space, or do you think there's a lot of things that need to be fixed in the industry?
Yeah. So a good thing about, before I go into like the future, a good thing about us like not launching right away is we actually, and while we would have learned along the path just like Top Step did and constantly adapt, right? It's nice that we're able to see what works. I've traded almost every firm. Like before, during this time, while we had the business, being worked on, not fully really worked on, right, or put on pause. I traded at every firm, right? I understood their rules. I see people posting on socials. You're able to gauge, kind of how big a firm is getting. They have things like now, like Payout Junction, different things you can actually see, like public payouts that are on the crypto network. If you do Wire, you can see some of them, but there's different tools and analytics that you can kind of gauge based on just presence on socials or just looking at the plans themselves, just knowing, how the data works in order to formulate how you want to attack the market. And that's what we did. We are the one-stop shop. We have plans with end of day drawdowns, intraday drawdowns, both of them being eval plans, right? So if you still like the original approach, and if you're a good trader, realistically, I don't think the straight to funded accounts, are the best ones for you, because if you're a good trader, if you're able to take like a growth account, which is, just taking an eval for anywhere $80 to $100 plus, right? And being able to pass that, no activation fee, you get a funded account for a third of the price, you know what I mean? Or a fourth of the price of doing those straight to funded, because, by skipping that, you have to pay a premium. And I think that, being able to offer all three is really what sets us apart from some of these other firms who, and you can see there's a couple starting to pivot, a little bit of model, and a little bit of different offerings, right? But I think that's what sets us apart. But going into your question about, the future, I think that is kind of what, ourselves and, any other firm, starting to offer straight to funded might be doing, right? It's putting pressure on those original models that have lasted so long. Just like Top Step had pressure. I think it was only this year, right? They switched to the beginning of this year. What was it last year? They had 7 days, or I forget what it was in 2023. It definitely wasn't the two-step model. They got rid of that already. But there was
I think it was a seven. Like they had I think it was a 7 day.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Basically, at the beginning of this year, Top Step became like very much more popular than it was last year, because they decided to switch it from, whatever, or maybe it was even last year. I don't know, getting my years mixed up. But basically, they had to adapt. Apex was blowing up. They were the big dogs. Like Apex was going nuts, right? And when you go nuts, that also comes with, some bad. It's a double-edged sword, right? You might be growing so fast. And these companies, they make a lot of money, up front, right? But if you don't gauge yourself for the long term and understand, how you're going to be able to monetize just off of, subscription fees isn't going to cut it, right? You need to be able to move traders to live. You need to have partnerships with other businesses. You need to be able to, hedge yourselves and have systems in place in order to gauge your own risk as a company in order to survive. And, we're starting to see, some Forex companies get into the space, right? Forex has a bad name simply because of influencers, right? They see all the money coming in, and when you start a prop, of course it's going to be a lot coming in, right? You don't have people getting payouts yet. You don't have fees from your brokers, etc. You're not running into any issues that you have to do. So if you don't keep it regulated and correct from the start, and you already start introducing bad habits and bad practice within your business, it's going to fail. Sure. So I think the business right now, to your point, is just weave and adapt, right? You have to see what's working, look at the firms that have been there for a long time, what they're offering. How can you repackage the box, so to say, right? Because all of these evaluations or funded accounts, etc., everything's just the same, but repackaged differently, right? And you have to have it work for both you as a firm and the client, the customer.
I think you said something important too, because we've seen a lot, like almost every single one of these firms, Top Step, Apex, even like other firms have gone through growing pains where they grew extremely fast, and then it hindered their systems and ultimately the traders' experience, where where the traders would not get payouts. They'd be extended time periods where they wouldn't get payouts, or even like customer support and customer service would take a massive hit because of all the growing pains. How are you seeing Tradify navigate that? Right. Because I think, at this point, a lot of traders are used to seeing things happen like this because it's happened to every single one of them. How do you see Tradify navigating those growing pains? Because I think you're going to you're going to experience massive growth. You're already experiencing massive growth. So how do you see you pushing through that?
Yeah. So that's why, again, another thing why we could have launched probably 6 months ago, right? And it would have been a shit show, in my opinion. And I think a lot of companies launch and it is a shit show. Or it can be quick. So you have to be able to see, how effective your plans are, how many people are going in and buying a certain type of plan compared to another, which one's performing better for the customer and for the business, right? Either or. Also, you have to see how can you copy traders, right? So for instance, we already have a system that goes straight to live, right? We have a clear set of rules of how you get to live, right? Some of these companies, they don't have that, right? So they're basically pushing that all down the line, right? It's almost, like it's like you're rolling a snowball and eventually you're going to hit a wall, right? You're just building it up, building it up, building up. You look at a company like Apex, etc., it runs into these. They also aren't able to pivot and move quickly because they have usually what's called legacy code. So our developers, everything that we've built out, we're able to change and come out with new things within usually 30 days.
Nice.
If not 14 days, right? So if you don't have everything built like that from the beginning, which I think a lot of these companies didn't do, and that's simply because maybe the tech wasn't out there at the time, it's very hard to transition a whole system, right? Like imagine TopStep had to move all of their users on whatever CRM they had to another one. It would probably be a shit show. They probably wouldn't even want to do it. Same thing with Apex. I don't think they are. And that's why you see like a lot of these websites too, like they're not like as fleshed out, or there aren't too many like, more modernized type of looks or things, because it can break the system. And the worst thing that you can have happen is breaking the system, because that leads to what? All those clients having issues with P&Ls, tracking, right? And what does that do? Builds up a support, huge load on the back end, right? And then you're going to have to catch up to that. So I think it has to deal with a lot of companies, the development that they've had in the beginning and setting themselves up to be able to change from one model to the next, or add something, or be able to handle bug fixes, right? So everything that we've had so far, we've been able to fix, within a week. And pretty much, I think we're going to be looking at, the next big features coming on whenever we do a large feature is going to be able to be built on our existing code base. So we're not going to have to worry about, transitioning anything or moving anything off where it's currently stored. So I think that's the main thing. To be honest, I'm not too sure though. I can't speak on behalf of all these companies, but to me, that would be my opinion.
Sure. Cool. So also taking a step back into like the whole trading aspect, because you are that one-stop shop, right? You have the evals, you have the funded account. So you're getting data on both sides of the spectrum, right? So
yeah.
How do you see people trading? Do you see people trading differently in simulation accounts versus funded? Do you see that like a massive discrepancy on like their strategy or like the aggressiveness on how they trade?
Yeah. So there's two sides to every coin here, right? So in my opinion, and we talked about this internally too, the mental state of someone, right? So the current eval environment out there is set to basically, the eval sets you up to trade more aggressively or more lenient than you do on the funded stage. And that's just how it's always been, unfortunately. And to us, I think that's counterproductive a little bit. We do offer these types of plans. Don't get me wrong, right? Because it is the standard, and we want to be that one-stop shop. And that is the way that you're able to, attract the market by, seeing what works and what has worked. But they set you up with a different mindset. So when you get to that funded account, you're trading on something that's even harder, right? And you just came from something that you could pass in 2 days. So it's kind of setting you up for the wrong mindset. So it depends. Do you take the eval like that? Are you a person who takes an eval and passes in 2 days with the mindset of, I'm going to make quick money on the funded account? Or are you a person who says, I'm going to skip the eval, I don't want to do that, and go right to the funded account? But if you're that second person, you can still have that same mindset as the first one, right? It all just depends on, again, and I think it all just correlates back to every person is different, right? Someone's going to love being able to go straight to funded. Someone's going to take it easy and slow on the eval because they're going to take it slow and easy on the funded. And that's the best type of trader. But not everybody does that, right? So there hasn't been, enough data per se to say, this one does, these plans do better or have a higher fail rate or anything like that, simply because the different types of individuals that you get are just so wide, right? You don't know what side they're going to be on. So, we'll see, in a couple months when we have more data. We are still fairly new. We have about 2 months, a little bit over, or right around 2 months of data now. So we'll see what happens.
Perfect. Do you think we're going to see more and more prop firms offer the one-stop shop, the evals and the fund straight to funded?
This is again, I don't think a lot of the big firms are going to want to pivot or introduce a new model
Right.
simply because they have things that work for them. And for basically how plans work in this industry is for every con, there's a pro. For every pro, there's a con. That's simply how it has to work, right? Otherwise, everybody would be able to basically go in and, milk a firm. You have to have different things in place, so people can't game the system. And the biggest risk in this business as an owner is having users come in and game the system, right? It's a sim environment at the end of the day for the most part. So you're able to, somewhat gamify it, or, if you have like a group of people under the same house, or, doing the same trades opposite, hedging each other, you're going to run into issues. So I think that a lot of businesses may pivot towards, the new straight to funded model, but they're definitely going to want to see how it lasts for the long
Sure.
term, right? I will say with us, we don't see any issue with it right now as long as it's contained with the number of accounts. When you start to increase the number of accounts, your risk goes up exponentially.
Yep.
Because essentially, when you're a prop firm, right, your risk is set to, you can set your risk per user, right? But that user is then multiplied by how many accounts they have, right?
Yeah.
So if the risk goes up, the average person is not buying, 20 accounts, right? The average person is simply not doing that, especially with straight to funded.
Sure.
They're not going to be spending, $2,000 at a time, right?
No.
Not everyone has that money, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to be buying a couple of accounts. So those are going to be the core data, that's going to be the core data that you're able to analyze, right? When you start to increase a larger number of accounts, it becomes harder to kind of correlate the data to how many accounts an individual is buying, and how they're performing, etc.
Yep.
Now we are increasing. We just announced the
Yep.
number of our accounts. I will say, and this is the first time I'm saying it publicly, it's nothing crazy. We're not going by any means putting our foot on the gas. We're just putting our foot on the pedal. Like, haven't even really pushed it down. So, I will say that, and we do feel comfortable where we're at now to do that. However, I think when you get into this, multiple accounts, and there's been a couple firms who've had even 15 or 20 accounts, and they've sized back down, to 10, to 5. So that's telling, right? And with Apex as well, you just see all the problems that they're having, right? They have
Yep.
to make traders record videos, then they take it back, then they have all of this bad press around them. They try to create good press, then they tell you you can't buy evals anymore, which is it's
What are your
like
thoughts? What are your thoughts on that? Why do you think
yeah,
that they stopped the whole buying eval thing?
I could not tell you. I don't know how it's working. Like I don't know. I don't know enough about who gets it. I don't know if you know or if you could tell me, but like, is it people who have gotten payouts that when they get a new funded account, they're not allowed, or if they're doing good? It seems like it looks like when people are doing good on their funded accounts, they get this email about, hey, now we're going to make the rules stricter. They say you can, not even what you signed initially is what's going on. You have to follow something new, which you didn't sign, which is kind of crazy to me. Where they can only trade like one contract or something like that, right? Isn't that what it's saying? And like
Uh,
they can't average. They can't average down on a
yeah.
losing trade. They can only
Yep.
I saw your video actually
Yep.
about this.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
I
you
love
can't
this.
DCA.
You hit the nail on the head.
Mm.
You can so DCA, right, is allowed. DCA just means adding into your position,
Yep.
but they're making it harder in the fact you can't DCA up.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, you can't
You can't
DCA
DCA
down.
down. Yeah.
You can only DCA up. And
Yep.
and you hit the nail on the head, and I would have said it the exact same way. They're basically saying you can't get closer to break even when you're red. You can only get closer to break even when you're green, which
Yep.
is worse.
Sets you up
Like,
for failure.
it's literally telling you we want you to over leverage, like you said.
Yep. Yep.
So it's insane. But anyway, going back to your question, I
Sure.
don't know why they're limiting people from buying evals or who that they're doing it to. So I can't make like a informed assumption.
Yeah.
I'd assume it's people who are doing good that they don't want to go, back and be able to get evals again. I don't know. I mean, from a firm from a business point of view, that would be the way that makes sense.
Sure.
I'm not too sure.
It almost seems like protecting the outflow going out of their business
Yeah,
in a sense.
exactly. Which is like very, very telling because there's basically saying, hey, if you're successful, we're going to change how you trade, from your first payout or your second payout. We're going to change this on you via an email out of nowhere.
Yeah,
And if you fail this, you're done with the company.
yeah,
Like insane. It's in
makes
fucking
you're
insane.
just no longer allowed back at Apex, which is kind of just mind blowing to me.
It's
So
it's just crazy because they go like I just said, they go from the good press to the bad press, right?
yeah.
They come out with something good, they say something bad. They come out with something bad, they say something good to save themselves. It's like they're trying to like dangle the carrot just enough, or
Mhm.
they're showing you a coin that's dirty and they polish it just enough, and then right when you go to grab it, it's dirty again. That's
Yeah.
the best way to put it.
Have you seen this daytraders.com site?
I haven't.
It's a site, it's called daytraders.com. It looks like a total rebrand of Apex. A lot of people are talking about it. If you look at the logo has the crown on it. Um, the structure looks the same. I'm pretty sure there's been like people that may have worked at Apex work at daytraders.com. There's people talking about it's the same IP address. Like it looks like a total, almost a total rebrand of it. I mean, I don't think a lot of us have any information on it, but it's just kind of curious. I'm curious to see how that's going to play out and exactly what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see they don't have any plans yet, right? It's just like,
Mm-mm.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
curious. I heard about it before. Did you mention it somewhere already?
It's been floating around the internet for some time now,
Yeah,
for a couple of days.
yeah, I saw someone did mess. I've been on this website before. I don't remember who sent it to me. I'm trying to remember, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Anyways, but
it's
yeah,
peculiar.
I'm curious to see because it looks almost like a total Apex rebrand. Like, I mean, it's just
Yeah.
but we'll see how it plays out. So talk to me a little bit more about Tradify and the future, right? So
Yeah.
I know a lot of people they want to know that when they get involved with the firm, like they want to know who they're like, what that specific firm, the trajectory they're going, and overall the comfort they have with a prop firm, right? And so you did mention that
100%.
you are going up in account sizes.
Hmm.
Don't know how much yet, but you are going up. What are some other things that you're looking to implement, maybe in the future, right? Maybe not right now, but what are some other things that you're hoping to implement that could uh, benefit the trader, so to speak?
Yeah. So, pretty much, I'd say I think 99% of what we have right now can only get better for the trader. At this time, just looking at how we've launched and the way we've structured it in a way where we can loosen things. And we've already loosened, a couple things here or there. We're looking to, we have also have, risk parameters in place. Like some companies, they don't have, daily loss limits attached on their funded accounts. We have it with a soft breach. We give you I think it's a generous 50% daily loss limit.
Yep.
If someone's blowing half their account in a day, you need to, probably chill, right? Like it's not ideal for the long term. Some people look at it as a plus, some people look at it as a negative. Our goal as a firm is to get live traders. So we are going to make the rules very similar to how we'd want those traders to be live trading as well with us, right? And I think that's the number one thing that I can say about our firm that's different than everyone else. There's a couple firms starting to pivot more towards getting live traders under their belt, but we have and really the goal of evaluations, even with Top Step back in the day, is to give traders a set of guidelines to follow. It's almost like you're giving them a curriculum, so when you graduate, you're able to get a job and get something, right? It's the same thing, right? The initial phases of getting those first payouts is just you learning the curriculum of how to properly trade. And the
Sure.
rules are set in place for you to be able to, be that robot, right? Disciplined, right? Not have the bad habits that come with trading affect you. So we plan to, emphasize those points and reinforce that to all of our traders. We do have a partnership coming out with the trade journal tool soon. So,
Nice.
we are looking to reinforce all of our traders' learning habits and give them offerings to be able to increase their knowledge so they're able to trade better or maybe trade more consistently,
Yeah.
cut down their losing days, find their weak spots, find their strengths, etc. And
Hmm.
we want to hammer that, right? Because again, our goal is to get you live And the way that we plan to, in the long term, monetize more is off of those live traders. We can
Gotcha.
copy them 2, 3x, 4x, etc.
Yeah.
Myself and my partners, we dabbled mostly in options, like I told you before as well. So we are also very excited to be able to, I can't touch too much on it, but use the data that we have for traders, or from traders, excuse me, and be able to kind of hedge with options, both on the buying and selling side. And I
Nice.
think that's something that nobody's really doing, I'd assume, or maybe even knows how to do. But the fact that we've traded options for 5-6 years successfully, I think is a good point for us to be able to kind of dominate the market from another end.
Cool.
But to offer traders things, yeah, trading tool coming out, maybe more lenient rules. We have dedicated risk managers that we're going to have on for live traders, and more partnerships. Really, that's all I can say. And
Yeah.
listening to feedback. That's it.
Got it. Talk to me about the live structure. How does a trader
Yeah.
how does a trader go live with you guys? How is that structure set up?
Yeah. So right now, basically, after you get 8 payouts, you're able to be moved to live. However, you can be moved to live anywhere after the third, or once you get your third, or anytime after that. So your third, fourth, fifth, sixth, etc. So there's a couple ways it works. I'm just going to read it off, kind of like how we have it, because it is a little complicated,
Yeah.
and I just want to say it, correctly for the most part. But
Mhm.
basically, if we, the bottom line is, if we force you to move to live, because the number one question that all traders have when you talk about live accounts is, do I keep my balance? Right? Do I keep my balance? Do I just get the drawdown? Because there's some firms that only give you the drawdown on accounts, right? So if you have a 50K account with a 2,500 drawdown, when you go live, that's all you get, 2,500 bucks.
Okay.
So we have that as well. However, you are able to keep your whole balance. So let's say you have $15,000 in the account, right? And you're at your 8th payout, right? You take out your $2,000 payout, and then at that point, we would say, okay, we're going to be moving you to, you have the option now to be moved to a live account, and 15 minus 2, that's $13,000 will be put into a live account.
Yep.
So at this time, that's how we're doing things.
Mhm.
We don't see that as a risk per se to us, and we've limited it to, or not limited it, but put a cap on it at 8 payouts, simply because that's when we feel that a trader, has proved themselves enough that they should be moved to live for sure.
Sure.
I do see us moving most of our traders before that 8th payout to live. However, we just have to see how they're trading. Are they just, gambling, during the day and getting lucky on a few payouts? It's hard to do that, but there are traders who do it, right? So we have to check and see if that's somebody, right? Or if they're, consistently trading, building a buffer, increasing size as their balance goes out, following a system, etc. And that's also what our trade journal tool is going to help us do. We have working on an AI model for next year. Definitely not ready this year. I'm not even going to say it is. Yeah. Probably won't even be ready Q1. So don't think I'm just blurting out AI as if it's here. But we would like that to be a coaching tool as well as a risk tool to help us too. So that's kind of how the live account, works from there. When you have a live account with us, you have uncapped payouts, minimum of $250. If you make $1,000 today, you can take out that $1,000. Yep. You don't have to follow any type of daily loss limit, no drawdown limit. If you talk with your risk manager and you want to put those into place, by all means, we can do so. You will start out with the same contract size as you would on your funded account, or the same contract size that you were trading on your funded account. However, if you build up a huge balance with us, if you're doing, if you end up having like 40,000, 50,000 in the account, we have no problem increasing that, gradually as we see, how you're trading, etc. But yeah, that's pretty much how the live account works. We hope to be able to move a lot of people live. It obviously won't happen soon. You need to have quite a few payouts in order to get there, or even if you have 3 payouts for us, that's about, 6 weeks or so. So hopefully by the end of the year, we have a handful of live traders, and, we'll be able to, make another monetization path off of them as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Talk to me about so you're pretty, I know we talked about DCAing earlier,
Yeah.
with Apex. Talk to me a little bit about that. You're pretty soft on
Yeah.
DCA rules. As long as they're not like mindlessly just like DCAing into
It's,
oblivion, right? You're totally cool with people adding in
yeah.
zone.
You use that's the exact term, man. So we have it in our terms. And like everybody, like when we first launched, like everybody was nitpicking the shit out of this. They were like, you don't allow DCA, like you're not clear about what it is. By no means are we saying you cannot DCA, right? But if every single trade on a funded account, you are simply adding every 5 points that it's red and closing half of it at break even, right? And letting the rest ride. That is clearly averaging into oblivion, right? If there is no, and we won't just, we won't just deny you. We'll ask you like, hey, can you tell us like what was going on here? And I don't want to say that we're doing that like Apex because we're really not. This is a very small subset of users, right?
Yeah.
And to be honest, they have to be able to follow that right system, because again, our goal is to move you to live. In live markets, that's not going to work, right? You're just going to burn through your balance that you're given at that point, right? When you're DCAing and you're averaging into, I don't want to even say, let's not even call it DCAing.
Sure.
If you're averaging into oblivion, you're just spinning the wheel until you fail, right?
Yep.
You're just hoping to break even. You're injecting hopium
Yep.
right into the vein, and that's it, right?
Getting that
We
dopamine
by
hit.
no exactly, yeah, you're getting a hit. So like we by no means though are limiting traders who DCA. Plenty of the payouts that we just did this cycle in the past 2 days, they DCA'd plenty of times, right?
Yeah.
But it's not every single trade, right?
Yeah.
So that's important for us, when we look at the accounts and when we look at how everybody's trading, and that's again something the trade journal tool will help. It'll say how many trades they DCA'd once, how many trades they did twice, 3 times. So again, this is great analytics that we have internally that we're able to use later on when we want to really iron in on these guys who are getting a lot of contracts in one
Yeah.
way or the other.
Sure. Awesome. Well, we're starting to come up on an hour here. This has been this has been an awesome conversation. I think a lot of people are going to gain some good insight here off this video. Before we bounce up out of here, what is one thing, what would you tell the traders moving forward? Like, what's a piece of advice you'd give them? What should they be doing? What should they expect? Leave us with some feedback here.
Yeah. So what I would tell everybody, what I tell everybody pretty much who comes to us or is just trading in general with any prop firms is take it slow, right? The prop firm space is set up in a way, and you see people posting on social media where you see all these huge numbers, instant gratification. You see people posting, I made $10,000 today. I made this today. That's not legit, right? Until the money hits your bank, it's all just a game, right? Don't let things that are set up in a way to look gamified gamify you, right? That's the best thing I can say to a trader is to stay disciplined. Look at things, from the point of the outside looking in rather than seeing what everybody else is doing inside first. Because if you're able to take things slow, get to that payout, move to, and actually follow the rules, right? Remember, the rules are put in place to help you as a trader. A lot of people like to nitpick them and say, these are hindering me. I'm not able to do X, Y, Z. If you really are, trading already and successful and you think it's hindering you, by all means, go to another firm, find a firm that fits you, right? But with us, we really do believe that all of our rules and parameters are put in place to help you for the longevity rather than just one payout or a quick fix of that hopium, right?
Yep.
So that's how I'd end it there.
There you go. Perfect. Brett, thank you so much.
I got something for everybody. Are we still on?
Okay, we're still on. We're good.
We're still on. I got something. I'd like to give out 3. This is 9 accounts total, 3 of every straight to funded to anyone who comments on the video. We'll pick them. You can pick them on a separate video. So you'll have 3 individual 50K, 300K, and 3 150K accounts. We love, the content you're putting out. I think you're one of the only ones here, man, who actually does things correctly and really provides good info to people. Doesn't just sell a prop firm. Actually tells, the pros and cons. And you've even done it with us. Not everything's a pro. There are some cons here. And I think that that's important in the space. We like transparency. So I want to do that. for everybody. I'll leave it up to you how you want to pick those. But yeah, for everyone who's tuning in, I appreciate you guys listening in. Joey's a great guy. Make sure you subscribe, and hopefully one of you guys wins.
Well, there you go, guys. There's your little giveaway happening right now. All right, fam. We'll see you in the next video, guys. Cheers.